Hey there, this is Matt from Newbie Woodturner. I'm going to show you how to make one of these cool 3-layer rings with a red pinstripe in the middle. I'm not very good at making these videos, but I'm going to try. This is a piece of thin stock of Padauk that I buy them online, and this is me planing a glue board to glue that piece of Padauk to. You'll want to make sure this is very flat, even. Run it through your planer a few times if it has glue on it or whatever. Everybody's got one of these. I use Star Bond. Ignore my hair and my lack of shaving in my face. You can try to use nylon gloves when doing this. When I tried to do that, I just got the glue stuck to the gloves, and then it was a bigger mess than just using my hands. However, do expect to get glue on your hands in doing this. It's very difficult not to. This is me just gluing the piece of Padauk to the board, smashing it down, making sure that I can get it as close to the board as possible, making sure that there's not a huge gap there. If you got something small, it's not a big deal. Remember, we're making a ring, so only a very little bit of this is actually going to be used. This is me running it through the planer to bring it down to the size we need. And peeling it off the board, you do have to use quite a bit of glue. One time I didn't use enough glue, and that piece of Padauk just shot out the end of the planer. And if you break it, remember, it's not a big deal. We're going to be using just a small piece of this, so you could probably fix that with Star Bond if you needed to. I usually take some sandpaper, which I will in this video as well, knock off that excess glue just to, determine what piece I'm going to use, make sure everything's kind of even and flat, smooth that surface a little bit. I have learned, if anything from this, your precision and everything can really get screwed up just by a little lump of glue or something, so. In order to make these rings perfect, you do have to critique the whole way. This is me just kind of choosing out the best part of the board. Just going to cut a small square out of it. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as you've got a big enough square for a ring. Get to hear the irritating squeal of the bandsaw. Not sure why I didn't edit that one out like I did the planer, but the planer is like next level kill your ears, so at least be thankful I edited it out of the way. As you see, just have a little square piece of Padauk there, and kind of sanding it up, cleaning it up. Again, you want to make sure like the edges, there's no frays or anything on it. Usually what happens is where you cut with the bandsaw, there's going to be a very small little fray in where you've cut it, so you'll want to make sure that's smooth, because again, one little thing on this can cause that pinstripe that we're making to be off center. This is where the little game begins of keep your fingers out of the glue, which I've never won. You take 6 pieces of this paper. It's construction paper. You can buy it at Walmart. I bought a whole notebook full of white construction paper for this sort of stuff. What you're going to do is, organize them like that. It'll kind of help you keep things organized while you're doing it. You're going to want to fully cover the piece of Padauk or whatever piece of wood you're going to use. You can use any wood. Make sure you get full coverage on it there, coast to coast, for you people that worked at Burger King and Wendy's and whatnot. This is the part where you're playing the game of try not to get the glue on your fingers, and it's a repeated process of put the paper, the glue, flip the piece of wood over, put more of the paper and the glue. As you go on, you're going to start noticing the glue on your fingers is getting thicker, and the super high smell of acetone and super glue in the air is fantastic. Yeah, more glue, more paper, more glue, more paper, more glue, more paper. Yeah, thrilling stuff. Ignore my fingernails. Working outside, and when you become a real man, your fingernails will look like this. So fuck off. That's what it looks like when you finish. It looks like a nicotine patch or something. Give that to somebody and tell them to quit smoking. This is me just kind of cutting it down, you know, kind of making sure when I put it on the lathe that it's going to kind of be centered. You know, that way I know exactly where that piece of Paduke is in there. You don't have to worry about exposing every piece of the Paduke on the edge or anything. You know, that's as soon as you see a little bit of Paduke, you're good. This is more thin stock. I buy this shit off eBay. It's expensive, but it makes my life easier. I'm gonna glue each one, again, sanding, you know, making sure those frills are gone, everything's even. Now, you can't see it here, but I am spraying accelerator on the bottom part of the wood right there, and then smashing it in there, and then spraying accelerator around it. It still didn't really help. I've still got glue all over my fingers during the process, so don't worry about that. That's what it looks like. It looks like a little wood sandwich. Now we're going to take that and put it on the lathe. Now here's another important thing. You have to make sure that when you put a glue block, or like you're gluing that to the chuck, you have to make sure that is extremely level and even. If you don't, your pinstripe will wobble. So right here, I don't really show it enough, but that piece I already have in the chuck, that's just a scrap piece of wood that I, you know, evened off, cleaned it, like, you know, made sure it's straight across, because again, if that's a little off when you place your blank on there, and you may want to put your blank on there a few times to try to make sure there's no gaps, it's even when you put it on there. So yeah, that is something I wish, you know, I never really had anybody show me how to do this, so I just kind of went out to figure it out on my own. I'm sure everybody has their own methods. This is me gluing it to that block. Again, you want to make sure there's no gaps. It's really pressed on there. All, you know, really good fit. Try to get it centered. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but, you know, remember, depending on the amount of material you're working with. Also, during the editing process, I kind of screwed up, and the GoPro video is a little bit off from the actual turning video in the background, so just ignore that. That comes from lack of giving a shit, and you kind of can still see the whole picture of what's going on, you know? If you wonder, that lathe is from a company called Zever, and I paid about $250 for it. It's been a great lathe. I've turned a lot of stuff on it. It's got variable speed. Again, $250 can get you into this wood turning, and believe me, it's an escape. It's something that has probably saved me from going completely nuts doing my job, like, which is, you know, on computers all the time, and kind of technical stuff, this is, you know, kind of mindless. You throw on some music, you turn some wood, you know, it's a great escape. I recommend it for anybody that is just looking for something new to get into. This part here, I'm showing the Padauk line and the pinstriping. Again, if that has a wobble or anything at all, it's because somewhere in the process you didn't follow instructions, and you should just beat it off there with a hammer and start over, because yeah, you have to make sure it's all glued up perfect. That, you know, make sure you got everything, like, you know, mashed together. You don't have to use clamps doing this if you use glue and accelerator like I show, but it does help if you're slow gluing it. Make sure you use clamps. At this point, when you start to get down this small, what you can do is, if you have a ring that you need to size this to, you can place that ring on the end to get your outside diameter of the ring. Now, I don't really show that in the video because this ring is, again, just a demo ring of me making one. It's you know, nothing perfect. It's me using a parting tool to kind of, you know, edge out the ring. You're gonna also have to gauge your width on each end of the ring, how wide you want the ring. I'm doing that here and kind of explaining it to a friend as I'm showing him whatnot. Sorry for the chipmunk. Now, I only use 3 tools in this whole process. I use a Hunter carbide. I think it's like, I don't remember which number it is. There's several of them. It's called a Hunter tool. I use it here for hollowing it out, all that stuff. The other tool I use is just a standard diamond parting tool. And the third tool I use is what's called a Benjamin's Best. It's a ring capturing tool, but I use it just to kind of get in there to cut that back side of the ring on the inside. I'm not using the tool for what it's meant to be used for, but it's worked great for doing that for me. So you can find anything you want, you can get one of those. You don't even have to do that, but it will save you some sanding in the long run when you go to part it off, because if you don't have, if you're making the inside and outside of the ring kind of like concave or curve in on where your finger goes in to make it more comfortable to fit. To do that on the inside, you need one of these tools. And right now, this is me using the Hunter carbide tool. You will see me switch to that Benjamin's Best tool, and I will display it when I get to that. Also, this is a good time to coat with CA glue. That's what I'm doing here. And there's a couple reasons I do that. First reason, any CA glue soaks into the wood. That's probably just going to make it stronger. It's not going to hurt you. The second thing is where the exposed paper, if there wasn't, by chance any glue on there, when I start to sand, that red Padauk will get into the paper. So it will stain it. So to stop that from happening, I apply a layer of the CA glue, kind of make sure it's a real thin layer, and then I spray it with accelerator, and then I move along. Okay, at this point I'm starting sanding. I only I'll be honest, I only used two grits on this ring, and it turned out great. I used some 250, and then I used straight to 500, something this small. You can pretty much get all the tool marks and all the rough sanding done with the 250 because the piece you're working on is so small. And then I went straight to 500, and at 500 beyond, you can't tell too big of a difference other than I've heard the grains show up better in higher grits. But I take it to 500, make sure it's all smooth, all gravy, and then I'll be cutting it off. This is what it looks like when it's done. Now, of course, there is still some sanding for it to turn out looking this good. Guys, if you like the video, please subscribe. I'm trying to get this YouTube channel off the ground, and I really, really appreciate your support. I will try to make more videos of wood turning and instructional stuff in the future. Please just hit that subscribe button for me, whether you're from the Facebook groups, the Tennessee groups. Thank you.